Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. We are so happy to have Unstoppable Tracy with us again here live on the podcast and on Zoom today. So we get to see her face to face. She's gorgeous, beautiful, full of inspiration, and she's ready to inspire and motivate as she does so wonderfully. Welcome to the show today.
Well, thank you, Jill. So fun to be face to face with you today.
Same here. And for those that may not know all about you, would you mind giving us a little bit of your background?
Absolutely. I was so lucky to be on a dock when Oprah Winfrey's magazine crew was doing something called Raw Beauty. And they discovered that I was on a quest for the gold. And I was participating in World Cup regattas and qualifiers for Olympics and Paralympics. And what our listeners and viewers may not know is that I'm also missing my hands and my legs. And I have kicked some serious butt with some pretty serious Viking-like able-bodied men, 27 men and 3 women. And I came 7th in a World Cup regatta.
Amazing. See, you are limitless and unstoppable because, some people may say, oh, well, she was born different and that makes her special and that makes her not as able to be like we are. Oh boy. She's better in a lot of things that all of us who are born with our hands and our legs are. Let's be honest about it. This girl could tie shoelaces in kindergarten. My son is 5 and 7. Both of them, they can't tie shoelaces yet.
Oh.
So, I mean, it's sad that people out there sometimes judge people. And I'm sure you're used to that your whole life, but that doesn't stop you. That inspires you to show them, hey, I'm just like you. And we all have our strong points, our weak points, but guess what? I am me. And as your mom always used to say, no one left behind, right? Is that what she says?
Exactly that. No one left behind.
Yep.
And she was the kindest soul. Like, she had super kind eyes, just like you. This is the most welcoming, approachable way about you. And my mom had that too. But she wasn't kind in that she did everything for me. She was kind because there was a tough love. And you talk about shoelaces, like my niece, Maggie, I could see her tying her shoelaces and I want to jump in and do it for her.
But she has to learn.
Right.
Yeah.
And so now I know it is a bigger gift to sit back and wait patiently while she figures it out and not do it for her. I didn't realize that was harder. It would have been easier to tie my shoelaces.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
And by the way, just to point out off the top, your website so people can reach out to you.
It's UnstoppableTracy. And I like to joke, no hands, no legs, and no extra letters in my name. TRACY, Unstoppable Tracy.
Great. And we spoke last week. Did you have you had an event you were speaking at? How did that go?
I just got back from San Diego, literally. You're flying in and racing to the Zoom computer to plug in and set up lights to be with all your magical listeners. And what's really wonderful about it is, tenfold. It is the very first live event in 2 years. Last time I was flying was March 2020. And what was also magical about it was that it was for our 911 dispatch team. It was called NENA. NENA is National Emergency Number Association. And so that's all our emergency responders. And we have our wonderful first responders, fire, ambulance, police, but we forget sometimes about our first responders, right? Those 911 people that are on the line coaching life or death and keeping people's hearts and souls hanging on and feeling capable in a really tough moment. I know for myself, I was doing my MBA and I was sleeping over at my parents for exam time. And I remember my mom walking into my room at 4:30 in the morning, just sort of big wide eyes. And she was backed up against a corner and she was saying, there's something wrong with your dad. Wow. And at first I thought, oh, I got exams, Mom, in the morning. I gotta go. And And then I could just see her body language. Like I could tell something was serious. And her bedroom, of course, their bed was super high. And I've got no legs. Like the top of their bed is about my forehead. And so I had, there's no rhythm for me to need to get in and out of my parents' bed in my 30s, right?
Yeah.
And so I was dragging a chair over and climbing up, and my mom's in shock and sending her to call 911. And it took a bit because she's in shock, and they don't know that I don't have hands or legs, and they're giving instructions on how to try to revive him, and not getting there. And it's just like, it's unbelievable. You never know, right? You talk about uncertainty with your little ones in this pandemic, or uncertainty with your job, or loss of job because lots of businesses closed. They face uncertainty every call. Like they never know what's the call and what's the resources, and do they have the resources? Like we empathize with the PTSD of police or fire after a circumstance, no matter how much training and what some of us have lived through and seen. But this is true in all of our worlds. And it was a wonderful conference to be the first live in person and on stage, 500 people in the room at this 5-star fancy Hyatt, and a ton of conferences of spinoff. I'm going to be going to Tennessee, Indianapolis, and I have Egypt this month.
Oh my goodness. Wow. You inspire and you are unstoppable. And what's behind you there? Is that your book?
Yes, that's my book.
For those that you may not know, she also has a book. She's just amazing soul right here. And I'm so thankful that we have you here. I'm honored to be getting to talk to you all the time like this. And like I told you, you inspired my kids. They're 5 and 7. And when I told them about you and I made them watch your video, and to say, hey, people can do anything, no matter how you're born. People may say you're different, or they may say something about you. Smile. You treat them with kindness, and you have to learn that type of mentality. And if you're getting bullied over something, and all those things that are just important in life, I can only imagine. What are you doing in Egypt? My goodness.
Well, mostly I'm going to be scuba diving. Egypt has the Red Sea out there, which is sort of a dream for all scuba divers. So I'm really excited to be diving 10 times. I've got 5 days of 2 days, 2 dives a day booked. And what's neat, right before the pandemic in January of 2020, I did my 100th dive. And I remember, it's got to be something special. So I'm going to go to Bonaire. I had no idea we were going to shut down the world right after that. And it was the 100th dive. So what else is going to be special about it? Not only location, like it's got to be bigger and better than just magical location, Bonaire. And Bonaire, for those of you that don't know, is off the coast of Venezuela. It's one of the ABC islands, Aruba, Bonaire, Curacao. And so what I did was go 100 feet deep in Bonaire. And I was nervous. And all of my dives, for 99 dives, right, even the very first day, it was kind of something I'd heard about. People can dive as deep as 100 feet. I happened to meet somebody on shore that had just dove a shipwreck that was at 99 feet. And that was the day that I was doing my open water certification. I'm like, I want to do that, right? I want to do that. So this was inaugural 100-foot dive. But Jill, what was really funny was when I went 100 feet deep, what divers or non-divers might not know is that the colors disappear. Like this vibrant red dress and the beautiful blue background. So when you go 100 feet deep, everything is gray. The fauna was gray, the fish were gray, and the beautiful blue water of Bonaire was gray.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So, so 100 dives. And what I didn't realize, that what was around me right here, right now, like Jill is right here, right now, was all the color and the magnificence that I always needed. Like, well, sometimes we wish we had $100 more or $100 million more, or we were 100 days away from no more masks everywhere. I know some people are starting to remove masks, but sometimes exactly where we are is the best vibrancy and the best views. And we do so much wishing. We forget to fully embrace right here, right now.
Yeah. In the moment. Wow.
Yeah.
And what else did you have in store for us today? There's so much to your inspiring stories and your journey to help people.
Uh, you know, I'm looking at you and I'm thinking about how you are such a lifeline. I get carried away in my story and you keep saying, but what's that book, right? Unstoppable You, or what's your website, Unstoppable Tracy?
What's your show?
And it's our show, you and me together.
No.
We are better together. And that's true for all of our listeners.
Hey,
And you
I
say
always
this,
say teamwork makes the dream work.
yes,
It
yes,
does. It does.
it's their show too.
Yes.
And so you say, this is my show, and I'm sitting in this living room. This is my couch, my tree, and there's nobody left of me and nobody right of me. And it's kind of like when I was rappelling off this cliff,
Mm-hmm.
and a reminder, no hands and no legs. So I
Yeah.
am hanging off this cliff. And there was a great big, I'm calling it a jutty, but a great big projection. And so
Mm-hmm.
when I went past that, the scariest part of diving, of rappelling and diving off that cliff,
Oh.
and climbing, is when you first go over the edge. It's even scarier than going up. It's that over that edge when you leave
Okay.
the land. And so I just got over this edge and I'm dangling midair. And there's my knees, I say my feet, but my knees, my
Mm-hmm.
stumps are not touching anything.
Oh.
And my one finger, I have a tool on my hand that I call spatula.
Oh,
I
let me
call
see.
Trevor.
Oh, wow. Great. So that helps
And
you
hold things.
pick up. Mm-hmm.
Yep. It's how I can comb my hair,
Okay.
or I can put on mascara,
Uh-huh.
or how I can eat. But it's
Uh-huh.
also how I was holding the belay line, the safety
The rope,
line,
like
the
yeah.
rope, and I clenched on,
Clenched. Mm-hmm.
and I stopped rappelling. I just was dangling midair,
Wow.
and I was feeling really all alone. Right. And I think a lot of us in this pandemic, you're quarantined, or you're in your cubicle and people don't understand what's going on in your home life, homeschooling, elder care, or your work life is changing. Every business, no one has not lived without inevitable change the last 2 years, or lifetime, but particularly these last 2 years, and including those 911 operators on the phone. They're alone, one person on that line. And I had forgotten, I'm hanging out there, I'm dear life with this one little finger grip with my spatula, my Trevor. And then someone shouted, "Tracy, are you on the ground?" And I'm thinking, no.
Uh-oh.
But then I remembered, I'm not alone. There's someone on my belay line, right? There's someone on my lifeline.
Yeah.
I jumped. I'm doing this. This is my show, as Jill says.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not out here hanging alone. I've got Jill, and I have the listeners, all of you magical souls, and souls that might need a lifeline too, in Jill or
Yeah.
in Unstoppable Tracy.
Absolutely. Very true. Beautifully put. Wow.
No, you know what's so fun about you and me, Jill, is I keep throwing about how magnificent you are, and you keep throwing back how magnificent I am. And Jill and I want to throw out how magnificent, there
You
are
guys
great leaders out
are.
there. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Everybody is so unique and loving, and just being on this earth. And the one thing I always say, taking away from this pandemic, and I know it brought a lot of angst and a lot of sadness and grief and change to us, but I look at the positive, and I think it taught me to understand, like, life is so short, life is so precious. Time to value what's really most important. Some people out there, I know people who are very materialistic, and like, why? When you die, you're not going to have that. What's most important? Spending time with your family, your friends, loved ones, getting to explore, adventure, whatever makes you happy. But it's really not about that. And so many people, career, running and going. And I was one of those people years ago before I had kids. And I look back now, and then especially after the pandemic, we're all home, and it's like, wow, career means nothing. It's the
Yeah.
time to value at home, and like to really think about life. And then when I lost my mother 5 years ago, it was like, wake up. Like,
Oh,
life is so short. It's like,
yeah.
appreciate everything and just be kind, and be, Simple, simple. Treat others the way you want to be treated. And it's just, it's just a great message that you share. I share. Everyone should share. Not everybody, does. But if someone
Yes.
can take a little bit away from this, from you, from me, from it's just that.
Yeah.
And, you're here to inspire, and so am I. We all are.
Yes. And be unstoppable about it.
Mm-hmm.
I was, on the plane in the airport waiting at a gate, and I did a quick scanning, and someone was saying on Facebook they were being advocates and supportive for Ukraine, for
Ah,
example.
yeah.
And, I was in Russia twice visiting orphanages and schools
Oh,
and churches, and there are many incredible, magical, loving people in Russia as
right.
well. And my last name is Schmitt. My dad was German. And
Mm-hmm.
so then we have the whole Nazi era. And
Mm-hmm.
so we need to remember that not all Russians
Are
are
bad people.
bad
Right.
people. And we definitely, and the reason I started this was not that. I wanted to make sure that I didn't wrong anybody. There's
Yes.
a circumstance, and we can't put ourselves in anybody's shoes, is one sub lesson, because I have some wonderful people in Russia that I really feel for living this right now,
Oh,
but also many, many magical people in Ukraine. And the lesson I meant
oh,
to come with was scrolling Facebook. Somebody said, don't just say, love Russia on Facebook, but do something about it. And it's true. You're saying be with friends and watch where your priorities are. And we know, many of us know the famous quote about, if you can conceive it and dream it, you can achieve it. But there's a bigger piece to that. It's not just conceiving and dreaming quality family, quality job, quality relationships, quality children time, quality parental time, quality, driving your business goals. It's that Ukrainian message on Facebook. You have to take action.
mm-hmm.
I didn't dream of being a sailor. I didn't dream of busting Uber into Canada. I had to take action. I had to get down to City Hall and advocate. With Uber comes Uber accessibility,
Mm-hmm.
comes Uber Wave, wheelchair accessible vehicles, comes Uber Assist, people that assist you when many of the taxi industry are overwhelmed or too busy to take a moment for a person with a disability potentially.
Yeah.
And not all taxi drivers are like that, but
Yeah.
it's Uber brought accessibility. And so that's what I advocated in City Hall in Toronto.
Wow.
So it wasn't just, a post to say they're great. It was getting my car towed by police because there was relationships with taxi drivers and police. And they said, oh, this car is illegally parked, even though I had a wheelchair pass, and it wasn't. And people spitting and throwing things at me in City Hall because I was advocating to bring Uber into Canada. And I'm not saying we need to all put ourselves at risk like that, but I do think we need to get out there. And for me was 3 months of living and sleeping in my car to catch the attention of a gold Olympian. For Uber, it was standing and being vulnerable and being a visible voice in City Hall, as well as social media posts. And for skiing, it was wiping out 1,000 times until we figured out backwards ski boots to put on my thighs.
Really?
I've never shared that story, and I know you need a break. So maybe that's what we do.
No break. Tell me now. Go ahead. We're good.
Tell you now. Okay. So because I'm missing my hands, if I was on a sitting ski, I would have outriggers, crutches with skis on. But without my hands, I wasn't able to hold 2 outriggers well enough, even with this spatula. We even duct taped, and that wasn't enough to control. And for listeners, my legs end above my knees.
Okay.
And so I wear artificial legs a lot, but the knees are artificial. So as soon as I'm on a hill, the knees just buckle, right? They just bend because there's no muscles in the knees. And so I wiped out a lot in the trees. And I remember I said to my ski instructor, we got to go again, right? You don't give up. You don't avoid failure. I know this. And he said, can we just go in for lunch? I'm starving. And so I went in for my instructor, and he's sitting on a bench, and he took his ski boots off, and skiers never do that, but he took his ski boots off because I think he was exhausted I think I'd filled them with snow with all my wipeouts. And I had my legs off because on the sitting ski, it was better with no legs. And my young brain, I look over at his feet and I'm like, my thighs could fit in those ski boots, right? Because they were so gigantic, a little bit inappropriate.
But no, wow.
And then I got a light bulb.
Hello.
My thighs could fit in those ski boots.
Wow.
And so that's what we did. And I wasn't going to figure it out on this couch at home.
No.
Right? I had to, there's no Googling four-way amputee skier. You just had to get out there. And so, and that's what people got to do, even though they don't know how they're going to start their business or mend their relationship with their teenager or their neighbor or their, you know, they're the other end of a separation. How do they have a partnership with the parental shared person in these children's lives, but still go forward, right? Even though you don't know how you are going to thrive. Sometimes you just have to get started and not embrace that possibility, even if you don't know how, and you'll find your boots. And I still wiped out. I still wiped out because boots are angled forwards.
Yes.
So that's how we gave birth to backwards boots. And we put my thighs in men's ski boots backwards.
Oh my gosh. Wow. That is amazing.
You get the free download of my book. You can find a picture of me with backwards ski boots. You visit UnstoppableTracy.com and get the free download. No cost. Just share an email and I'll send you the book. And you can find the picture of the backwards boots.
Oh my gosh. One inspiring story after the next.
Wow.
Wow. You do so much. I mean, was there anyone else in your family? Do you have any siblings, family members that are just as like adventurous? Where did this, you know, or are you
I have a sister and she is 11 months younger than me.
Okay.
And she is a phenomenal, enterprising soul. She was a travel agent, and in Canada, they changed the government reform. And so her industry changed and many people left. But my sister instead invented a website called Spoiled Agent, where she spoils the travel agents. So instead of having to go to 1,000 hotels or 1,000 flights or 1,000 lug bag companies, she puts all of the incentives in one place. So it's, you know, for the travel agents, there's no cost, but the people who want to reach them with incentives purchase commercials on her website. And she has a very successful website, Spoiled Agent. And she is a wonderful mom. I have my niece and nephew, thanks to my sister, which is amazing. And my incredible brother-in-law, Bob, and he is a phenomenal. He does commercials for podcasts, but only those that are really big and famous. We're talking massive podcasts. Just to get, before everybody says, oh, I want a commercial on my podcast, you've got to have a gazillion and one views, I think, before Bob is in your world. So
and
we've got a lot of entrepreneurs in our world. So they're adventurous that way.
And where do they live?
They live around the corner from me right now. One of the nice parts of pandemic is that I get to live close to my mom and my sister's family. 2020, March, I had been to 20 countries in the last 12 months before the pandemic. And that's countries. That doesn't include all the cities that I went to. There was so much travel before March.
Do you travel with anyone to help you? Do you travel alone sometimes?
All those previous 20 trips were alone, and this one in San Diego was alone, and it's quite the ordeal. But you know, airlines are incredible support, and the people that hire me to fly me in are really great about, okay, let's get an Uber to connect right at the door, and those kinds of things. So we just make it happen. And I carried books, a box of books on my back, along with my clothes for that conference. I won't do that again. I'm going to mail them. But I carry, this is what this is it's a bag abrasion from
from rubbing on when you were just in California. That's what that's from. Oh my goodness.
It's not very attractive, but
that's okay. We all, oh my goodness, you are a trooper. My goodness. Wow. Now, and I know you don't, you of all people, you probably don't accept help easily, right? If someone comes up to you and says, hey, can I help you with that bag?
You
Like
know,
what do you
how does
do?
that roll out?
Yeah,
So
because you're
Jill,
so used to being so independent and
yes. And
uh-huh.
you're so funny. It's been 2 years and I can be gracious because my mom also taught me that sometimes it's the gift of saying yes, of allowing somebody to assist you. But it's exactly what happened. People took my bags and it was just sort of on its way to my seat on the way there. But on the way back, the flight attendant came and she's like, "Oh, I imagine you can't carry that. Here, let me take that for you." Well, because she said
Said
that,
that. It's like,
I
I'll
was like,
prove you
back
wrong.
was up. And
Got
I'm
it.
like, I could carry it. And they're like, "Oh no." I said, "It's very heavy. I wouldn't want to put you out." She said, "That's exactly why I have to carry it." And I said, no, I realize it's not appropriate to have a bag this weight, right? And I carried the bag and I was at the back of the plane. And I like to take my legs off during flights that are longer than 2 hours. And then so if I'm walking to the washroom or something, it's just a small bum shuffle. It's not like I'm not parading myself in front of everybody down the aisle kind of thing. And so then I had like a half a dozen flight attendants. "Oh, let me take that bag." And then this poor woman behind me looked bad. Like they all thought she didn't take the bag. And so then I felt like a big heel. I'm like, "Oh no, she was so kind. She offered, she was
But
lovely. I insisted, it's my fault. So now I feel guilty. If I let you take my bag, I would feel bad because I didn't let her take my bag." But it was because she didn't believe I could.
yeah.
And that was inappropriate on my end. But
But
it was exactly how I reacted just now on the return flight. It's so funny you say that. But and so here's the deal, right? I live in a condo and I have a 3-wheel electric scooter for long distance or grocery shopping. And if I go in the hall, I see somebody and they say, "Oh, can I help you?" And "Oh, I'm fine. Thanks for asking." And I get to the elevator and they say, "Oh, can I help you?" "I'm fine. Thank you for asking." And then when I get out the elevator, the person on the first floor doesn't know. And they say, "Oh, can I help you?"
yeah.
Just like these flight attendants, right? And, "Oh, I'm fine. Thanks for asking." And then I get to the front door of my building and the same thing happens again. And this is twofold. I have the bonus of knowing we live in a magical, wonderful, kind world because people offer assistance all day. But what do they see?
Yeah.
No one said, "Good morning.
Hey, how are you? Yeah.
Hey, how are you?"
They're
Every conversation is, "Can I help you?" And that means all they see is my disability.
They judge. This is a
And
great
not on
message to
purpose.
get out there. Yes.
Yes. And I think whether it's a disability or whether it's infamous, famous Jill,
No,
right?
no.
That you are a human. You're a mom with 2 kids that get you busy and overwhelmed sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And we all have something going on. And mine's very visible. But just to remember that there's a whole person there and start with hello. And
Beautifully said. Couldn't have ended today's show better than this, really. Wow. Wow. Yeah, I commend you because it must not be easy to hear that all day. And no matter how unstoppable you are a human being with feelings, and it's gotta hurt to know that, hey, just ask me how my day is. And for all of us out there, this is a great message to get across to you, to your family, to your children, because you know what? That is true. Treat everybody the same way. And it's great that you want to help. But start with a, hey, how are you? Yeah.
hey, how are you?
Yeah. Beautifully. We're going to have to end it there. I'm sorry we're out of
I
time, but
understand.
that's beautiful. Unstoppable Tracy, how can we reach out to you?
Please reach out to Unstoppable Tracy everywhere. I keep it simple. Facebook, Twitter, email, website,
Yeah.
LinkedIn. It's all Unstoppable Tracy, and help me disarm limiting beliefs in your business, in your community events, at your not-for-profits. It would be a pleasure and honor to speak and celebrate all of you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Unstoppable Tracy. Have a great day. And thank you for making us remember. Everyone out there, please. It's so kind. Yes, hold that door for that person in front of you, but ask how they're doing. It makes on every level to anyone, disability or not. It's just the kind way to be, and to be kind to others. Like I said at church last weekend, I learned the basics. My kids, treat others the way you want to be treated. And then you said what? Treat others the way you
Oh, and then take action.
Yeah, it was something. When I said that last week,
yeah.
you said, I forgot. But anyway,
Disarm
simple,
limiting beliefs.
simple,
See
exactly.
the soul.
Yep.
And I don't know what's going on for people out there, but I also say, you have reasons. But when I live a life of no excuses, I get to live a life of no limits. And so let's all be unstoppable together.
Beautiful. Will do. We are unstoppable. Have a great day, sweetheart. Bye.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you can now listen live on the MyTuner Radio and online Radio Box apps for iOS, Android, and the Amazon App Store. Or check us out online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com or search Podcast Business News Network on onlineradiobox.com/US so you don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.